Happy bye week. I know you guys are enjoying it, enjoying this time off. And on Sunday, just enjoy your day. Watch some football, hang with the family. No stressing, no cardiac cath day on this bye week. What I decided to do today is talk about a little bit of the NFL draft coming up 2024 here. Now, look, this is not an indictment where I think the Lions are going to be, because I'm talking draft doesn't mean I'm saying the Lions should go ahead and do draft right now. That's not the case at all. They're a playoff team. I want them to keep winning, but since it's a bye week, I figured I would put together some positional groups I think the Detroit Lions should target in the draft. All these players are, whether it fits in the first round, it's late picks for it. So this may not be the best player at the position just because the Lions, in my opinion, are going to be drafting later in the draft. So why talk a player who's going to be a top 5 pick when the Lions are not going to be there? So when these players are generally in the position, the end of the first round and then second and third round and beyond from there. So that's how I went with this. So it may not be the best player that you've heard of, but it's where the Lions likely could get them. But before we get into today's video, make sure you go ahead and hit that like button. Trying to get to 9,000 subscribers. With your help, it can happen. Let's get this thing started. One of the positional groups I think the Detroit Lions should absolutely target, and early in the draft, and I did 3 for this specific video, 3 positions that I want the Lions target early, and in no particular order of the position, but the first one I have is interior offensive line. I am tired, and I'm sure the Detroit Lions are getting irritated with the inability of Halapoulivaati Vaitai to stay healthy. I think this is last year in Detroit. He won't be coming back next year, in my opinion. I want the Lions to still have a very strong offensive line, and there's some players that the Detroit Lions could look to draft in this upcoming draft near the position that they'll be drafting at. Late first round pick, a second round. So that's what I went with the offensive line. I did 1/3 round as well, but I think that's where they could be at. The first player that I have on my list is Cooper Beebe, interior lineman here. I think he would be a late first round pick. So if this would be the Detroit Lions first round pick, and I think he's probably one of the top guards in the draft, and that's where you can get it, is late in the draft. Now look, there's some good tackles in this year's draft. I didn't put tackle as a position of need because of Taylor Decker and Penei Sewell, but I did do guard. And I think Beebe could help the Detroit Lions right away stay with such a strong offensive line. With his ability to pass, block, as well as run block, he has an overall score grade of an 89 out of 100. I think this would be a solid pick. Now, it wouldn't be a sexy pick, but when we drafted Frank Ragnow, it wasn't a sexy pick, but it was the right pick at the time. I think this would be an outstanding player to instantly throw on the Detroit Lions offensive line, but you are giving up a top pick. But if you're to look at the offensive line, Frank Ragnow, potentially they re-sign Jonah Jackson, Taylor Decker, you would have Beebe and Penei Sewell. You still have one of the best offensive lines in all of football. What if they want to go a different position there? We don't want to go with guard in round 1. Maybe we want to do something else. There's some players you can get in round 2 and round 3 that can help the Lions out as well. Fautanu, I destroyed the name here. He's more of a mid-second round pick. I think that the Lions could get him as well, just depending if they wanted to trade up a little bit, or if, for whatever reason, teams don't target guard as much and he falls to the later in the second round, but he's more of a mid-second round pick, something that the Lions could trade up for a couple spots, because we've seen that so far in Brad Holmes' era. Solid offensive lineman. I think he start right away. I don't think he's good as Beebe, but he is really solid, and with our staff coaching with the interior offensive line, it would be a smart move, and you would be targeting a position that is a need and a want at the same time. You want to upgrade, but it's a need because Big V may not be on the roster. And obviously we got Sorsdale. He's more of a tackle prospect in development. Now he can play guard. We've seen that this past week. Maybe they want to get a solid guy who they can hold on to for 10-plus years. A late second round pick I got here is Zach Zinter. This would be if the Lions were staying in that position. Late second, early third round pick. I don't think you need development in him. He's my third best guard in the draft. You can put him in, and he'll do good. I like him most in run blocking. I think he's really solid right there, and that can help the Detroit Lions out for a late second, early third. Third round pick, Colby. He would be a good prospect. Maybe a little bit of development being a third round pick, but maybe he could be a Jonah Jackson type of player, right? That develops into a stud who's a third round pick as well. We do good in guard position in the mid rounds, and that could be a solid player for the Detroit Lions. There's many other guards you can look at, thirds and down, but that's what I went there for the Detroit Lions. Next position I think that the Detroit Lions absolutely should target, and it should be an early in the draft. We all know what's coming here. It's edge. The Detroit Lions need edge help in a big way. We got Aiden Hutchinson. We need to have somebody opposite him that can develop. A player who's falling in the draft, who is supposed to be early first, maybe is mid now first round pick, or potentially a little bit later, is Jared Verse. Look, we've heard this name before. He can get it done. He's good at pass rushing. He just hasn't had the greatest year so far. That's why he's fallen a little bit. But if he falls to the Lions, to me, that is a player you can instantly pick up, and he's going to make your team better. You know, he's supposed to be earlier in the draft, but he could slide. Edge position. We've seen it multiple times where players slide a little bit. I know teams get afraid, but they actually do pretty good to where they go. We've seen it on multiple occasions. So I do like that if the Detroit Lions wanted to target a guy late in the first round who could slide. This would be a could slide. Again, he's supposed to be a mid-round pick, but he could slide. How about Chop Robinson? Late second-round pick for the Detroit Lions. Edge rusher. Again, a player who may need a little bit of development, but late first-round pick. I think he'll get better throughout the year, and that would help Aiden Hutchinson out in a big way. You could also go JT to Tuimoloau. That'd be, again, a late first, early second-round pick. I have other prospects ahead of him on my board, personally. But, again, another player that the Detroit Lions could target in the late to first round, for sure. Bralen Trice, a second-round pick for the Detroit Lions. That would be a late second-round pick, early third, definitely development. I'm not sure if the Lions want to go development at this point, because we've picked up some players in the late second, early third that has not panned out on the defensive line, at least not lived up to the expectations. I think we need to get a stud right away. That's why I didn't go past this. I think the Lions need to get edge early in this draft. We're talking round 1. Up there with guard. I think those are need for sure for the Detroit Lions. So I just stopped there because I'm not wanting to scout any other player right now until we see the whole deal, and I still think that the Detroit Lions need to start going early. Next positional group, and the last one that I have, look, there's other positional groups, right? I didn't do wide receiver in the top 3. Wide receiver because we got Donovan Peoples-Jones. Maybe they re-sign him after this year. The Lions wide receivers are young, and they're going to be on this team for a while. So I did not do wide receiver early because of Donovan Peoples-Jones. But I did do cornerback as a number 3 position. Don't know what's going on with C.J. Gardner-Johnson if we take him back. Will Harris, it has to be his last year in Detroit. We need to have solid corners. And I wanted to get one early. Denzel Burke, round 1 for the Detroit Lions. More of a mid-first round pick. But we know corners can sometime. Maybe the Lions want to trade up a little bit to get a corner because it is a position of need. He is a player that can play on the outside and the inside. I think he would be an instant upgrade that we have right now, even over Jerry Jacobs. And I like Jerry Jacobs quite a bit. But you'd have Cam Sutton, you'd have Burke, then you have Jerry Jacobs in the middle there with Brian Branch. I think that'd be a solid secondary for the Lions here. that would be a good move for Detroit to getting him. Kalen King, round 2, is another player the Detroit Lions could target. This could be more of the late first-round pick where they'd be drafted here. Again, he's an outside guy. He for sure can play outside. Absolutely no doubt about it. He would be a solid number 2 for the Lions. The last one is Nate Wiggins, round 1 pick. He can play he could play the nickel too, so that can help the position out. Be a corner that can really get it done for Detroit. We need to have players that can hold their own. That's the most important part of being a corner. And right now, we only got Jerry Jacobs. I gotta throw him some love, right? I'm not saying he's the only one, but Cam Sutton has been pretty darn good this year. And we've had some up and down movement with Jerry Jacobs. Even though we like Jerry Jacobs, we still need to get another young cornerback. Those are the 3 I got there. I will do more corners when the time comes because I think the Lions could target this position all through the draft. But right now, I just want to do the top guys. That's not the very top. We're not going to get a top 10 draft pick, so I just kind of threw them out. Any of the positions, corners, edges, guards. If you're a top 10 pick, I'm kind of just not really looking at you right now because the Lions aren't going to be in that position. I don't think they're going to trade up for anything like that. But we'll be looking at free agency here soon. Maybe I'll do a free agent video tomorrow to see what free agents will be available that the Lions could target. Since this is the bye week, it gives us to do a little bit of different content for you all. I think that's, needed. A little bit different, right? So make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Expect more of this type of stuff slowly dripping in. Free agency in the draft a little bit later than we do because the Lions are a good football team and we're going to be in the playoffs. So we'll be sprinkling it in a little bit in for you guys. With that said, folks, adios.